is going to... Hi, I'm David Anderson, and this is the Timex Sinclair online user group meeting. It's our August 8th meeting, and we don't have any guests tonight. So tonight is show and tell and general chat. But I do want to mention that our co-host is Adam Trionfo, who will keep us on track and on time.
I don't know, unless Carl says I'm hitting the whip again like we did last
That's
time.
right.
I felt awful. I was like, I'm just trying to keep everyone on, doing,
on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
okay.
I don't have to be that strict if you don't want me to.
So we're gonna do show and tell tonight. I don't want to steal Willie's thunder, but Willie did send me a video, and Willie, when you're ready to talk about your thing, I can queue up your video,
Okay.
which is pretty darn cool. Also, Willie, I have been seeing your name a lot in the past week or so because I indexed the Indiana Sinclair Timex user group newsletter, and you were really, really active.
Yeah, there for a while.
This is pretty cool. But I want to start with Tim Ward. Tim Ward is new to us. Tim helped start the user group in Fort Worth. He was involved in a user group called the Vashon Island Sinclair Timex Association.
Yeah, Vista.
Yes. And was also part of an attempt to preserve and help distribute public domain or other software for you were the librarian for ZX-81 software, right?
We were distributing ZX-81, 2068. I was looking back at something I'd found that you put up on the archive.
Yeah.
And I guess I'd forgot we were actually, distributing software on the Larkin discs as well.
Oh wow!
So
bring us up to speed on the world that is Tim Ward. Tim 3.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't know. I got started in computers back in 1979. I'd been in the Air Force for about a year, and was cross training into supply systems. So if you think of basic inventory like Sears or JCPenney's or one of those companies where you've got product due in, you got product due out to customers and such, that was base supply in the Air Force. So we were running a UNIVAC 1050 mainframe, and so before I cross trained in the fall of '79, one of the guys I was going to be working with had a Radio Shack Model 1. And Altus, Oklahoma, where I was stationed, was out in the middle of nowhere. We would go to Lawton for a big town, or Oklahoma City or Wichita Falls. But anyway, so we'd sit in the dorm and key in Star Trek program on his Trash 80, and got that running, save it to cassette because we didn't have discs. He didn't have discs at the time. But went and cross-trained, got educated on the mainframe, got to do programming with punch cards and mag tapes, and changed a lot of 132 column paper in the tractor feed printers. Went over to Germany in July of '80, and in '82, late '82, I got my first TS1000. I forget exactly when they had come out, but the field engineers that were there supporting the mainframe, one of the guys had brought in an Osborne portable. And that was really pretty cool with the little green screen in the middle and a couple of floppies, and it was a blast. So he'd have that in the office playing with it. And then the TI-99 4A was getting pretty popular. And so late '82, I picked up the ZX-81 or the TS1000. I don't remember if I actually got the printer at the same time or not, little 40 column. but I got the 16K RAM pack, and so I'd sit there in the dorm and I'd write software and key stuff in out of magazines. Came back to the States in summer of '83, got married, moved to Fort Worth. I'd been, some of the magazines I've been reading, I forget whether it was Sync or one of them anyways, there was an article about Mark Wazinski or something like that. He was one of the professors at Texas Wesleyan, and he would run a summer program teaching kids how to program on the TS1000. And so he and I had talked back and forth, and he just, I guess, encouraged me to start up a users group. I'd been involved in a users group, just generic computer user group, while I was in Germany for a little while. But there were, a lot of PC folk, IBM PC folks, and the Amiga folks, and everything else. I don't know if I was the only Timex guy there or not, but anyway, so I started up the user group there in Fort Worth, and I would stay late or go in on the weekend to the office and use the IBM Selectric to type up the newsletter. So I probably didn't have the little thermal printer yet in late '83, but I did that for a little while, got the thermal printer, and I'd tape the two strips together on one sheet, Xerox them, mail them out. It was fun. One of the articles I saw that up there on the archive had mentioned the group, and Frank Bolden was a retired Air Force pilot and a ham operator there in Fort Worth. Chuck Dawson, I forget what Chuck did, but Chuck was one of the first. Chuck and Frank were two of the first members. David Balsh, the Getty's address for the newsletter or whatever, that was actually his house address. And then another guy we had, Gene Pickens, was another early member. It's kind of fun. I was 23 when I started the user group in Fort Worth, and I learned a lesson real quick. If you're putting out a newsletter, you don't go editing somebody's program submission before you print it. Gene was not real happy with me when I did that one time. I only did it once, but it was a good group.
Did you break the program? Is that what happened?
No, I improved it, man. You never break something. You always improve it, But now it's a blast. So I was only in Fort Worth for 2 years, and then I went to Comiso, Sicily, took my Timex with me. And at that time I had I also picked up a 2068. So I was doing some stuff with that, living off base for the year in Sicily. And then I came back, and
while you were in Italy, did you meet up with any of the Sinclair users out there?
No. I was pretty much work, and then go home, and I'd go do some bike rides and such. But pretty much just sit in the apartment and with
Plus,
five
there's
other
probably
guys.
the language barrier too, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
don't know. I mean, if you think about it, the ZX-81 or the TS1000, if you got somebody else who's got it, it's pretty, the ROM was going to give you the same language.
Well, no, I meant the speaking Italian and English, not basic. Basic is universal.
Well, yeah, that's that part would have been easy. But no, I didn't get out too much with other computer folks. I did have one of the guys I worked for, senior master sergeant, had been a TV repair guy at a previous time in his life, and so I had a black and white that TV he went and modified for me, so I could do direct video out or direct video into the TV coming out of the Timex. Yeah, so that was kind of fun. Threw a transparency frame on it with an orange transparency. So now I had an orange screen instead of a black and gray. Yeah, it was fun. But left there and got to McCord here in Tacoma, Washington. And that's where I ended up running into Tony Willing, who had founded the Vashon Island group. And so we got together a few times, go take the ferry over across to the island he was living on. And so we were putting out the newsletter, and after a while, when Timex had called it quits, we thought, well, shoot, let's at least, do something. So we decided to put together the library, and we were selling cassette tapes for I think $4 for a tape full of software. I'm going to say most of it, as far as I know, had been keyed in out of magazines. That doesn't necessarily make it public domain, but we just figured we were getting stuff out there. Got to meet Rod Gowan out at who was the Portland group. He we had a convention there at one of the hotels in Portland, and I got a bunch of the folks from the local areas together. So Tony and I drove down, and it was fun. It was just good time to get to see other folks, and we were trading newsletters with different groups. There are a bunch of good magazines out there at the time. So it was a fun time to be into computers. So I was at McCord for about 7.5 years.
Did you do the newsletter there too?
I helped Tony with the newsletter. For the most part, I was duplicating the tapes and stuff. I'd gotten a Larkin disk system, and so I was playing with that. We had switched over in the Air Force, we'd switched over from the UNIVAC 1050 over to a Unisys mainframe. And so now we could actually type and see it on a screen instead of a teletype or key punch cards. And so I was learning different programming languages with that. And that was kind of keeping me busy besides my kids being born, just day-to-day life. But it was a lot of fun. We left McCord in early 94, and we moved to we're stationed at Sacramento at McClellan Air Force Base. And when we got there, my mom and her husband had driven up, and so she gave me her IBM PS2 Model 25 computer, and that was pretty much became the end of the Timex stuff for me. I got into that. I was small computer manager at McCord and dealing with Zenith Z100 computers, so the S bus or the S100 bus computers, and then the 286s and 386s as they came through. And but yeah, I still did the Timex stuff. But once I got my own IBM compatible, or IBM at home, that was pretty much okay. Let me go play with the IBM. So I ended up buying another computer and working for a guy part-time who gave me a computer so I could go service other people's machines if need be. But somewhere around 95, 96, I think I just ended up boxing up my Timex stuff. And I think I probably sent most of it to Rod, between what I might have given to Tony and then whatever else I probably gave to Rod. So Unfortunately, I don't have any papers or, I'm kind of wishing I'd have kept at least one of the TS1000s. I had been at times you could pick them up for $5 or folks would just give them to you because they didn't need a doorstop anymore. So,
well, Ryan mentioned this week that he has some old Fort Worth newsletters that he's going to work on scanning. So, cool. Your crime against against Gene may be resurfaced.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was probably done on a Selectric, although for a while I had I'd got a printer interface, and so I was using a Gorilla Banana printer for a while. Would turn around, open the cartridge, re-ink it, little foam roller so I could go ahead and print some more. And then I also, doing the tape library, I had bought a Paper Tiger, real heavy tractor feed dot matrix, but pretty fast. And then I used that for a while, and then ended up with a little Citizen 180D dot matrix. And I finally, here a few years ago, got rid of that because I'd gone through so many inkjet printers with the IBM compatibles over the years. But yeah, it was fun stuff. Always new neat things to learn and to try. It wasn't hard to go and make modifications on the 1000. One, it didn't cost very much. After a while, it didn't. Like I said, I had people giving them to me or picking them up for $5 a piece. So you can do all kinds of soldering on those things, depending on what you want to do. And if you melted something, oh well, go grab another one. So
very true. Well, Tim, it's great that you to join us, and I hope you will continue to join us, even if you don't actually currently own one. I'm sure we could hook you up in some way.
Well, I have a couple of questions, since just to cover a little of the ground that you talked about.
Sure.
You're at the Fort Worth group for about 2 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was in the 83, 84 time frame.
Yeah, I got married in July of 83, and we got to Fort Worth in August of 83.
Okay.
And
what was the approximate number of members? Do you know?
Oh,
it's the big city, obviously.
Well, it is.
It's mostly cows, though.
Well, I'm wanting to think that we probably had somewhere around. I'm going to just guess 15 or 20. Okay. Ryan could probably, if he's got older newsletters, he might have some clue in some of those. I don't, gosh, it's been almost 40 years.
Now, is it, when you say 15 or 20, is that how many people showed up at the meetings, or just you think overall and maybe 10 people would show up at meetings or once in a while?
I can't remember. I know that we had some meetings, but to be honest with you, I can't remember now where we actually met. I know the first meeting was probably over at my house, but I was living in an apartment at the time, so I know there wasn't more than 3 or 4 of us. Okay. We've met over at Frank Bolden's house once or twice, and I'm not sure. We may have started meeting at public library, possibly, but like I say, unfortunately, like I said, it's been 38 years or so ago.
Yeah,
and,
at the Fort Worth Public Library.
Okay. So
would that have entailed like people hauling their computers, not that they were heavy, I suppose, at the time, hauling their computers over to wherever the meetings were, or was there a projector, like because depending on their user groups I've been in the back in the day, you'd either have everyone pulling their things in, or sometimes it'd be one display that someone would have projected onto the wall somehow or other. And do you remember anything like that?
If anything, we might have done some sort of like a show and tell thing where we'd have 1 or 2 people maybe bring in their systems. I don't think we ever really did projection at the
Okay.
time,
I
just
think we
because.
just presenting on some TVs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to guess with the library, we were probably 10 to 15, maybe 20 people at most.
Okay.
So we probably were sending out newsletters to probably double that number would be my
Okay.
guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing that these things have survived for that long with that few printed, you know, the newsletters.
Yeah.
I
And
have
then-
the exact same reaction, you know, with some
Yeah.
of these. It's like, you know, some of the newsletters that I have scanned recently, I know that there weren't that many produced, and yet you probably sent stuff to Don Lambert, who preserved just scads and scads of newsletters, and then they ended up with Jack Boatwright, who recently sent them to me.
Yeah, I mean, Don's name is familiar, but I don't know if it's because you and I had talked a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
or, you know, but yeah, like I said, we did exchange newsletters with different groups, because again, you know, this was the whole thing of, you know, you started a user group because there was no YouTube, you know, to watch videos on how to do things.
Is that what
So
you were thinking at the time? You were like, where's YouTube? What are we going to do for them?
Hey, man, I'd got a CompuServe account at one point in time back when I had a 300 baud Westridge modem. So, you know, you weren't doing a whole lot, you know, on that modem. But I don't know. I mean, you know, we got together because we wanted to learn stuff that other people had learned, pass on what we had learned. And we swapped newsletters for the same reason, you know, the different groups doing different things. You know, there was a handful of computer magazines at the time, and, you know, you had to get on as many of those subscriptions as you could. So, you know, anything you could do to, you know, feed the need for a fix, you know, a Timex fix.
Yeah, that's how, that, like you said, Tim, that's how the information was exchanged at the time. Is, you know,
Yeah,
it was the magazines, and it was people sending each other newsletters. Yeah.
And something I've noticed too, looking through the newsletters, is there usually seemed to be at least one person who was in contact with the people overseas somehow or other, or they had a subscription to some of the foreign magazines from England for the Sinclair, and they would sometimes mention it in the see what's going on. Like the newsletter you pointed out to me today, actually, I noticed they had for that month they had the top 20 list of Spectrum software games that were like the top sellers at the time, and I thought that was pretty neat that they were sharing that information in that
you
newsletter.
could get that was the Long Island Sinclair Timex group.
Yeah.
And you could get the ZX, I think it was called ZX Computing. You could get it in, you know, some of the newsstands in Manhattan. It was expensive as heck, you know, and a subscription was even more, you know, outrageous. But you know, there were folks who worked in, you know,
Things like this.
Right,
Yeah.
like Sinclair user, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found that Sunset Electronics in San Francisco carried a few of those, so I'd go there every once a month and get my copy.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there was a couple hubs sort of across the country, but mostly on the coasts.
That makes a lot of sense.
The British mags are famous for having it was sort of they all had a cover tape back in the day when it was a tape, which then evolved into cover CDs later on. But so, yeah, when you were in England on a newsstand, there's like all these computer magazines and all these cassette tapes hanging off the front covers. And then if they were imported, they would certainly stick out on the news rack too.
Yeah.
They tended to be larger, like, I mean, not just page count, but like they were taller, right, and wider.
Yeah, a little bit taller than American magazines, and, you know, yeah,
and
full
better.
color,
Usually, that's been my
glossy.
experience with them.
Gazillion ads, things you couldn't afford. Yes.
Well, Well, I mean, that's how it was for me was, there were all these things that were made. I was never going to be able to afford any of these things, and so it was a luxury enough just to have the printer. And so then years later, you got, the computer and memories of all these peripherals that people had made, and wondered if anybody actually did buy any of them.
The problem with buying stuff from England was you didn't have a credit card. You had to have either a money order or a check drawn on a British bank. How would you do that in the US? So it just wasn't very easy to order from overseas.
Even in the 90s, I tried ordering some, I guess I was trying to pay for some shareware from a place in, I think it was Germany. And this was for the Amiga. And I sent off like an international money order, and it took several months. And did I get the disc? No, I got it back in the mail that like the address wasn't correct, or he wasn't doing it anymore or whatever. And then it was so much trouble to get the international money order, like cash back. I just didn't. So,
and there was a period when you could go to the post office and get international reply coupons.
Yep, IRC international reply coupons.
Yeah.
You could do like a self-addressed letter type of thing.
And you could almost use them as cash. People would accept them because I guess maybe they could turn them in and get cash for them. I don't know. I do remember that, as an option. It was pretty crazy.
I know for me, the only thing I really ordered from Britain was a Spectrum ROM, right? A real Spectrum ROM. And I think I remember doing an international money order. And I remember calling over there to talk to somebody, and it kind of freaked me out how their ringtone is, right? Because it's not the right. I mean, I was expecting, to ring, or but it's just two beeps, beep beep. So I'm thinking, is it? Are they busy? Or I just remember, now that you bring that up, I remember calling them, and I wasn't sure if I was, getting through or. But another thing is we had I think we still do. It's called a newsstand called Page One here. It was up on Juan de Beau and Montgomery here in Albuquerque. And I used to go and get the, like your computer. That was a big one there. They had some, imported, and I actually sold my newsletter there for our user group. They let me sell some of the newsletters there too. But
I was just at Page One just the other day, and they still have a rack of newsletters. I mean, they're not old computer newsletters, but like weird newsletters from like around the country.
You should go see if they have Carl's.
Yeah, maybe they do. It'll be on sale probably. I mean,
yeah,
nothing against you, Carl.
You got anything dusty in the back room? Hey, I want to call on Willie because Willie sent me a video. And Willie, I think you sent the pictures to the group, right?
I tried to, but I got rejected for some reason.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll sort that out.
I didn't see any pictures,
so Willie, tell us about what you and Tim Horner worked on.
Well, you were in there too.
Well, so let me actually give you a little bit of disclosure. So, I found a circuit for a Kempston joystick interface, and the Kempston joystick interface, in theory, works on port 31 on the Spectrum, and except that it is it's notorious for not being what's the word, fully decoded. And so not only does it work on port 31, it works on a lot of ports, and it just clogs up ports. So anyway, somebody designed a Kempston interface circuit that used a particular TTL chip to fully decode it to that port. And that's what Tim H, we'll call Tim H, and I talked about for your project,
right?
Because it was perfect. It would be fully decoded, and then Tim, brought in some cool ideas, and you guys just ran with it.
Yeah.
My contribution was the one chip, and the module from All Electronics that has 4 relays on it.
Yeah. So basically, I wanted a relay board for my 2068 for a couple of things. I wrote a alarm program for the 2068, and I was using the relays to trip sirens and that kind of stuff. And then I just like controlling things with the 2068. I don't know, just something I wanted to do as a hobby and have a lot of fun with. Well, I had got a book, one of the Timex books, which was Powerful Projects with Your Timex Sinclair by Jim Stevenson. And he's got the exact relay kind of thing I was thinking about in that book. Well, I built it, and I had conversed with Dave a few times. Anyway, I never could get it to work quite right, the circuit in the book. And then I'm not sure how we drug Tim into this, but then Tim got involved. And between Dave and Tim designed a circuit. And the neat thing about this whole thing is, and you'll get to see it here in a minute, I guess, but the one in the book that I was building, it had like 8 chips or 9 chips. The one that is actually, there's 2 different versions that Tim designed, and one of them has 2 chips and the other one has 3, and they both work perfectly. And it was just amazing how much hardware we got rid of that did the exact same thing that was described in the original article, by using the relay module that Dave had found. Anyway, I ended up building a few of these things, and I just think it was cool. So I liked it. Tim helped me with some math and stuff on how to control the thing a little bit better. And I just wrote an interface for that, kind of made it look pretty, I guess you'd say. And I've just been having a lot of fun with that little bitty project, but it's just been great. I'm actually using a 8-channel version, which is what everything's decoded to, I believe. The original program, or the original setup, was for the 4-channel.
Yeah.
But because I had the extra 4 channels, I just went ahead and populated one that way as well. And
So
I did a little video I sent to Dave to kind of show everybody.
So watch the blue circuit board that's on the right beneath the monitor. That's where the relays are, those little blue boxes. And that red LED tells you it just switched on. So what do you have that hooked up to, Willie?
Well, it's hooked up to a siren when I got it on the alarm. The other thing I got some lights in my office and a little fan that's hooked to it right now, just playing around.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So, but I'll never use all 8 channels, but I got them if I need them.
So what are you using to drive the power the relay board?
I'm running everything off of the power supply on the 2068.
Oh dear Lord. Tim, can you tell him that's not a good idea?
I've been doing it for a long time. Everything, and not only that, my Oliger systems runs off of the same one.
I'll be damned.
I got 2 setups. One I use, I guess you'd say, more serious stuff, if there is such a thing. But then the other one that you're looking at that you were looking at there, that's kind of what I do all my experimenting on. And if you notice, the bus sticks out about a foot because I've got like 6 or 8 cards plugged in it.
Yeah. I saw your Oliga cards up front there.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
So do you have an upgraded power supply then for the 2068, or are you just using the bog standard?
Believe it or not, I'm using the original power supply that came with it.
Oh. From 40 years ago?
40 years ago. Yep.
Okay.
Right. that's the part where that's not a great idea.
What can I
He's got
say?
those fans in case it catches fire, the fans will blow it out.
Maybe I need to hook a relay up to a fire extinguisher.
Very cool. Very cool.
I did when you guys were talking about power supplies probably a month or so ago. I think I did actually order. Actually, I think I got it in the drawer here. I did order a new updated power supply. I've just never tried to use it.
Cool.
We were on that topic, I think, a couple of months ago, and somebody, you, Dave, or somebody had found one online. Anyway, I got online right after our meeting and found it and went ahead and ordered one of them.
Yeah, there's one on Amazon that has the little switchy bits for it that makes the polarity right.
Yeah, you can switch the tip.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's got like 3 different tips with it.
That's it. Yeah, very cool.
Well,
And
can we
there's really
circle
nothing-
around, because I didn't quite understand what this had to do with the joystick port.
No, this is running off the expansion bus.
Yeah, it's running off the expansion, but I use the joystick port in my alarm program as the inputs to the computer.
I see.
Oh, Adam, are you asking about my reference to the joystick port?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, right. Okay, so the way that the Kempston joysticks, the original Kempston joystick interface for the Spectrum is designed, it uses a couple TTL chips to kind of select port 31, but it also, because it's not fully mapped, it appears in multiple places, and it can interfere with other devices that are in those multiple places. And someone a few years back designed one that was fully decoded. It only appears at port 31, and it uses this special TTL comparing chip that has 2 8-bit inputs, which is what you need. You need 8 bits for address lines A0 through A7 for the port number. So you have up to 256 port numbers, right? And then you need a couple other lines. You need the IO request, and you need to make sure you're not doing it at the same time that the computer's actually trying to do a memory request or something like that. So there's 2 or 3 other lines that you have to also run in. But this one chip, like Willie said, it gets rid of 3-4 chips in other designs for port mapped devices.
And this is not only a modern design, but a modern chip, or it's a chip?
No, actually, so the chip was available back in the 80s, and I think maybe even the 70s. I'd have to go look up to see how old it is, but it's not.
Oh, it's not important. Really.
But the thing is, it's the way that TTL chips are numbered. They go from 7400, which is the very first TTL part number, and then they go up into the hundreds, right? And my exposure as a kid learning about all this stuff, my exposure went up to about the 74,373, which is some kind of latch or something. I don't recall off the top of my head, but so my knowledge topped out, in the upper 300s. And it turns out that there was a whole bunch more TTL that came after that I just didn't know about.
Hey, Tim, what's the difference between the 3-chip version and the 2? I can't remember. You told me, but I forgot. You did the 3-chip version first, and then then you came back with the 2-chip version. I mean, they both work identically. I was just wondering what the difference was.
Yeah. Like David said, the 688, the 2-chip one, that they were sort of available sort of in the 90s upward, I think. I don't think it was quite in the 80s, but the original 3-chip one was stuff you could get from the 70s. It was very old school.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And also really commonly available. Your local electronics shop will just have those, whereas you probably have to order in the 688s. I mean, it's easy these days, but in the past, going to your local electronics shop. So one was just more available and probably more time period correct, and the other one was simpler. So
yeah, Yeah, it's a great chip.
Yeah, I gotta put some kudos out there to Tim too. I sent him an email. I was writing the code for this little GUI thing for the. It's just all basic, but lighting up those little boxes, believe it or not, I had to because you have multiple ports. A box could have 16 different numbers that it should light up on, basic on the combination of relays. Well, I was running out of memory programming the 2068, so I sent a thing over to Tim and I said, "Hey man, I have 350 lines of this code and I'm running out of memory." He took, what was it, like 8 or 12 lines of code to replace 300 some lines of code. So I couldn't believe it, but it worked perfect. It was great. But anyway, thanks buddy for that. That was cool. And I don't know how he figured it out, but he did.
Make sure that gets published in a newsletter somewhere. So it's not lost.
Yeah, write it up for Tim. Tim Swenson.
It was a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's been pretty neat.
Very cool.
Well, these days you could probably just program a PAL chip and just get rid of everything and condense it all into one.
Well, there's definitely different ways to do it. Simpler too, but and the whole point was my 2068 had to do something. So that was the whole thing was that I've got automatic relays and everything else, wireless ones and Wi-Fi ones and all that stuff, but it wasn't the 2068 doing it.
So who wants to talk about their whatever, their new thing, the thing they built? Actually, let me put a pause on that because I see Kevin Dorff is here, and Kevin is the person that I told you that I spotted on Facebook earlier tonight. Kevin of the Rainbow TS1000.
If you look at the Reddit post, the controversial Rainbow 1000.
I saw that too. I stumbled across it a few minutes later.
Can someone share a picture of that? I want to.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I'll bring up a screen share for it.
He can. Yeah, let me share.
Okay.
You share.
Let me. No, I can. I'm going to make it so that anybody can do that. I always forget about this. Okay. Go ahead, Kevin.
To remind you too, and I always forget.
Yep. And we do this dance every time.
So we will skip to.
Oh wow!
Now, is that not a thing of beauty?
That's cool.
Well, they just use some rainbow colored PLA for that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. What I did was find a model in Thingiverse for the case, and I was hoping to find a model for a case. Found a ZX-81 model, which, obviously just about the same thing. The author of that model was kind enough to give me his source. So I was able to make a number of additions, changing the badging on it. I wanted to set the posts to be heat insert, which works okay. And you're able to get the rainbow because however he designed it, you can print it standing up.
Nice.
As you see there. So as long as it works, if you look in the top left, that's the failure that I had right before it succeeded.
Modern art.
Modern art.
That's awesome.
But I'm really happy with how it came out. And I did use the tactile keyboard. So one of the changes I made from his model was making the tray about 1 millimeter deeper. So the tactile keyboard will fit in there almost flush. I could have gone a little deeper with it. But.
Kevin, is that the one with the micro switches?
Yeah, the one with the micro switches.
Oh, did you get that from Zebra on eBay? Yeah, I got that
from Zebra, whoever on eBay.
Yeah, that's Stewart Newfeld, but I don't think Stewart's here tonight. But yeah, he's usually here.
Yeah, super happy with it. I just installed it today.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
What do you got down on the bottom there? It looks like a Bluetooth module or something.
That's an ESP32. I'm working to wire up. They call it.
Is that the Wespi?
The ZX-Wespi. I'm working to
yes.
that up.
Yeah, show that, Kevin, because I talked about this a little bit once, but since you've actually built one.
I built one, it's not running yet, but this page tells you about it. So essentially, once you have this installed, it hooks into the lines for earphone and the tape input. So you can say load quote quote, and it launches into this screen that you see here, the ZX-Wespi. From there, you can configure Wi-Fi that's on the ESP32. From there, you can connect with a computer and upload programs. I think they're the .p files. You can launch directly from in here, and it will load it through the cassette port virtually, sort of. If you save, it saves to here instead of tape. And I think you can load it by name, whatever name you gave it when you saved it as well.
And doesn't it also generate the video signal? Or did I misunderstand that?
No, I don't think so. It's using the ULA's line pin 16, which is a combination of the video signal and the tape signal. So that's why you see when things load, it gets all wonky because it's the same pin on the ULA.
Right.
So I'm using this in concert with a composite video mod from Red Hawk or somebody like that.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. You did have that mentioned that.
So I don't have this Wespi running yet, but hopefully by tomorrow I will.
Very cool.
It's been a lot of fun. I started with Timex Sinclair 1000 very briefly. My brother owned it. Because he owned it, he didn't want me to touch it. But the keywords on the keyboard to my 12-year-old eyes were like, oh my gosh, the world of possibilities. So I couldn't use it, but my parents bought me a VIC-20 and then a Commodore 64. And when I saw the Timex Sinclair 1000 at a vintage sale about a month and a half ago here in Austin, I had to pick it up and see where I could take it. I also put a Traco regulator in there and upgraded to 16K internally.
That's nice.
Kevin, now is that because you were sick of all the colors on your Commodore 64 and you said, I got to get rid of those? And sound? Who needs sound? Who needs sound?
You know, for me, it was, you know, this is really what sparked my interest in computers. I think had I not seen the Timex Sinclair 1000 when I saw it, I don't know what I'd be doing today. I'm a software developer today because I saw that keyboard when I was 12.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's a good question, a good point, Kevin, because you know, the 1000 wasn't my first, you know, exposure to computers, but it certainly was what, you know, brought a computer into the house and let me do stuff that you know was ordinarily reserved for somewhere else, somebody else's house usually. But it seems like that was a path for a lot of us. You know, we got the 1000 or we got the 2068, and then we went off to become, you know, something in computers.
Yeah. So one additional shout out, I heard a couple Albuquerque people there. I went to high school in Albuquerque, so I did a lot.
What school did you go to? What school did you go to here?
I went to El Dorado.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right up the street from me.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Graduated in 88.
Okay, yeah. I graduated in 90 from Cibola over there on the west side.
Awesome.
As I'm giving away all my personal information, anyone want any of my personal information? Let me know.
Credit card numbers?
I think we already have your social number, Adam.
Yeah, I can write that down if it's not clear, right?
Awesome.
I printed the same model as Kevin in blue and with like sort of got silver on the things. It actually looks quite cool. I'd be quite keen on the model, Kevin, because I wouldn't mind tweaking it. It's the same one as yours, the vertical one. The problem is as it gets to the top, it's a bit shaky, so it's easy to sort of be knocked over, and I can see how things went west for you.
If you look The Thingiverse for the ZX81, he has his sources on there.
Oh,
So
okay.
Easily bring that if you don't do 123D into something like Fusion. He also put the step files there if you prefer that. And I'm happy for my models. I'll add the Fusion 360 exports to my Thingiverse model.
Because there's a go on.
I was going to say, are the standoffs already pre-designed to take those brass inserts?
Mine are.
Okay, yours is. The original one's probably just the plastic.
Yeah, if you take my model, it's exactly like you see it. I'll post the link here in chat.
So, well, actually, Kevin, there's a groups.io list that is called the TS2068 list. That's because it got inherited from an earlier Yahoo group. But we do allow people who you know, don't own 2068s to be on the list.
Awesome. If I'll look for that list and I'll post it there.
Yeah. Join us, and you know. Oh,
I also did the Minstrel, which is like a remake of the ZX81 without a ULA. So
right,
you know, all done with TTL. And that's a 3D printed case again of Thingiverse, which I did in red and white, which looks quite cool. It uses little tactile switches, and there's a sort of a ZX span, which is a sort of a load from SD card, so the add-on the back. But yeah, that's another 3D print.
Does yours have the AY 38912 as well?
No. This is a ZX span specifically for the Minstrel. He worked with Charlie to so it's a cut down version.
Okay.
It doesn't, and it only works with the Minstrel because of they sort of pulled out some of the addressing, and Charlie's one has like a CPLD to do stuff on it.
Yeah.
This one just has a couple of gates because the other signals are run by wires. It's a sort of simplified version. So no, it's got the joystick on it and the SD card. But yeah.
So you have, is it a homebrew ZX81 in there? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah. It's a recreation. There's a guy in the UK that did he started with a ZX81, ZX80 TTL, and then added all the enhancements to turn it into a ZX81, and then he sort of sold it as a kit.
And that's what the Minstrel is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And he just actually came back online. How would you pronounce the name of the website? Tinmouth or Tynemouth?
I think it's Tynemouth. Yeah, Tynemouth software. Yeah.
I'll dig up.
Yeah, he got a bit annoyed and completely threw all his toys out of the cot and deleted all of his blog posts and turfed all his products. But he's since come online in the last 12 months or 9 months or so.
Yeah, his blog was really fantastic, and I was sorry to see it go.
I remember watching some of or looking at some of that. Yeah, and that seems to be a trend these days of recreating these old 8-bit machines with discrete logic. I've seen they're doing that with the Commodore 64, the VIC-20, right, and some other machines too.
Well, he did a PET 4080.
Yep, that's a lovely kit. That one. Yeah. That's quite a big thing, full on. Yes. Yeah, that's nice. There's a few things he did.
They're all tempting is the problem.
Oh, and on the Wespi, the tape loader on that's actually a fast tape loader. It loads a little mini stub program down, really tiny, that sits in the variables area, and then uses that to then download the rest. So although it's over the tape interface, it's like 20 times faster than like a 5-minute thing. It only takes like seconds to load. It's quite well done.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, and what about the saving? Is the saving at the 5-minute speed,
the saving's just a normal saving. Yeah.
Okay. But you can put like Kevin said, you can put .p files on the SD card.
You can download from the internet. It's got a Wi-Fi connection, and it can connect to sites and pull the files straight from the internet. And it does have it does generate video, so it'll do a VGA output as well. But there's two versions. There's a sort of more enhanced one that he had a little screen for, and then there's the one that Kevin was showing. But yeah, go the I think it's from the ZX team in Germany. They're wonderful.
Yeah, I think so.
When you say it had a little screen, it was like a laptop?
It's a little LCD screen. That the original version was like a fully self-contained, like a portable ZX81.
Oh, that's pretty impressive.
And they sort of culled down bits of it and reused it for the Wespi. I can't remember what they called that original one. It's in the same GitHub repo. Yeah. Oh, it's in the same GitHub user.
I think there's a YouTube video for it. I'm afraid to go here because it's going to start playing, but I'll put this in the chat.
And it's just an ESP32 and like a couple of resistors. It's only a few parts to it. There's not much to it.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
crazy.
Has a VGA output too, you said?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, one of the versions does. Yeah. If you Google ZX-Wespi, WESPI, you'll find it. It's a nifty little device, and all you need is a little ESP32, but I don't remember exactly which model number it wants. It's like the 8266 or something.
ESP32, ESP8266 is a different microcontroller.
Okay. Okay.
They want you to get the larger, like 30-pin one. I'm pretty sure it'll work on any of them as long as you've got the right pins.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Hey, Tim, too. Tim H. You were working on, and now it escapes my brain. You were working on a project. Oh, the video thing.
Digitizer.
The digitizer.
Yeah.
No, I haven't done any more. I've been caught up trying to earn the money to do my hobby. So I've been
what?
bit tied up for a couple of weeks. So I haven't done any more. However, there is another show and tell. Where is it gone? This. When I originally came on, I had a USB keyboard plugged into the ZX81 via a big mess of wires.
Yeah.
And I think, and that became a little SMD sort of board. So this lets you plug a USB keyboard into the ZX81.
Oh.
The pin at the back, I've got a little riser for it, so it can.
Yeah. Okay.
And then this plugs into there, and USB.
Does it work for the 268 as well, since it's pretty much the same?
You'd think so, but it's not working on my 2068, and I suspect it's just because I'm using the logic family I'm using is I think what's the combined chip in the 2068 called?
The
I think it takes over the SCLD. Yeah, I think it takes over some of the control lines, and so they're not at a like a 5-volt logic level that you get out of the Z80. So I think that's what's causing the problem. I've got to change the two little driver chips to chat to see if that's the main problem, because everything else looks the same. So I suspect that's what's holding it back.
Huh.
And even the interface is the same, because the 2068 is a subset of the ZX81 is a subset of the 2068. So it actually plugs on fine. It just doesn't pick up keystrokes at the moment.
I'd be interested in that, because that's kind of a thing, I'd like to have a PC keyboard hooked up to the 2068, I mean, I know we did talked about that before, so that's very interesting.
I mean, the problem with just doing it directly is that you can type way faster on the keyboard than the ZX81, because or the 2068. It's 100 millisecond debounce, so it's 200 milliseconds key down, key up, and so you've got to have a keyboard buffer. Otherwise, you're just looking up at the screen, realizing half of what you've typed's not there. And a modern mechanical keyboard, you get well ahead of it. So I've got a keyboard buffer on there as well. So which is really good for typing, but no good for games, because you don't want keyboard buffered when you're sort of arrowing back and forward. So so you can sort of hit a couple of keys and it'll turn off the buffering for playing games, and then a couple of keys to flip it back on again for when you're typing programs.
Cool. That's exactly what Carl wants.
Exactly, yeah.
then Carl can retire.
Even cooler, it does keyboard mapping. So different games have like your fire and your left and right all around the place. So you can sort of flip between the mappings and keep them on the arrow keys with the space bar for fire. And so it's not over on some of the letters or up on the number keys or wherever else. So, if you can set up a series of mappings for all the different games you have, so that it makes it sort of easier to drive. I was meaning to put a joystick adapter on it as well, so that you could plug a USB joystick in, which would be nice.
Now we know what Carl wants for Christmas.
Yeah. Where can I buy one? Take my money.
I'll put all the stuff up on. I mean, I'm not planning on selling anything. I'll put it all up on the group once it's a little bit more done. I keep getting distracted by things. I did Willie's relay thing for like a weekend, but that's spread out to a week. And then I'm sort of distracted by the digitizer thing. So I should sort of get back to where I was, which was doing the keyboard.
You know, your project, Tim, that you brought down his long program down to a few lines reminds me. I know that there's a contest every year called, like, I think it's called the 10-line programming contest or something. Have you heard of that? And they have it for multiple computers. And I think a lot of people will write Spectrum programs in it. You try to fit a game in like 10 lines and have it be fun and not just, you know, super, I guess it has to be super simple really, but you try to make a basic game. And so you basically got to make those basic lines as long as you possibly can, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a guy in another German guy that does 1K ZX81 programs, and they're just crazy cool. And you know, although you got 1K, like, you know, 700 bytes of that's actually for the screen. So you're left with 300 bytes to do it. And these are like flicker-free, really cool games that would run on the unexpanded ZX81. He's releasing them, like, I don't know, he did 4 or 5 last year. He's doing quite a lot of them.
Is he doing that on the Sinclair ZX world?
Yes. Isn't it like Dr. Beep?
That's him.
Yeah. He's got a bunch of games. You can go download. You can download the .p file and a PDF file where he explains how the game is done.
Neat.
And they're all 1K high res.
Yeah, and high res. Yes, good point, Timothy. Yeah. The one of the cool games is you sort of follow a dog around the park that's sort of doing duties all around the place, and you sort of got to pick up after him. And so he's sort of quite irreverent as well. He's really quite good.
I'd like to show my ignorance here. Well, not like to, but I'm going to show my ignorance by, you know, I know that the 81 doesn't really have high res mode, yet it has high res games. So what is going on there?
There are a couple different ways of doing it. One is you actually make a hardware modification to do some real high res.
Right. Yeah.
There's also pseudo high res. What's the WX something like that?
WRX16.
Right, and that's all. There's also another pseudo high res which doesn't require any modification. It was Software Farm, I think, did that, and it's okay, but it's not great. I haven't really investigated them too much, and I don't really know the difference between what I need for hardware because I'm strictly emulator. So, and most of the emulators have that option turned on to do most of the pseudo high res.
I've also got somewhere in storage, I guess, or through the boxes I've got here. I've got the Memotech High Res Graphics HRG.
And I don't remember how
does that plug into the back, or that's a
it plugs into the back. Yeah.
Yes, that plugs into the back.
Yeah. If you have a ZX Band Plus, it does the WRX. It has the memory mod for that, so it can display. So you can do like the Dragon's Lair. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have.
Yeah.
That's done in hardware though, or hardware high res or something, right?
No, well, it's just the WRX. It's just a minor modification you can make to your RAM pack. It's a simple thing if you look at it. So you don't need any hardware necessarily for it, other than a small modification to your RAM pack.
Greg, doesn't that use the 8 to 16K?
Yeah, you've got to change the memory.
Okay.
I believe that I had to set that because you can set it to lower height, how it does its memory addressing. But
okay.
So it's basically just what decode. It's putting memory somewhere else in the memory map and using that for the graphics.
Yeah. From what I understand is that it's reading off the ROM, but the modification will, I guess, simulate it off of RAM. Because the ZX81 technically can do high res because you've got the pixels for all the characters. If you could just dynamically change the character set, you could display the same thing. And I believe it's doing something similar to that. I know one of the pseudo that's what it does is it finds something in ROM that matches your image as close as possible and uses that.
Right. It basically rewrites the display routine and uses an interrupt for doing the display routine. And so you can kind of like do high res and then get out of high res and get back into high res by doing the IY.
Okay, so it's not pixel addressable then.
So
Don't know.
again, if you have an emulator, most emulators support it. Works just great.
Yeah.
Well, I
if
mean,
you've got the
just-
parameters.
Does anybody have a reverse engineering of the Memotech HRG, or is that
yes,
already available?
I dumped it. I remember I did a peek into it. So I don't know what I did with that, but I know you can peek it, and then you can obtain what's there.
I mean, so that obviously it either has memory in it, similar to maybe a RAM pack.
Yeah,
and it probably has a ROM in there. I mean, an
Yes.
EEPROM or a.
Okay.
I would think so. Yeah, it has certain. It uses the address between 8 and 16 there, and I just don't have the. I did a peek of the whole area, and then I don't know what I did with it. That was years ago.
Mm-hmm. Well, also on top of that is like I said, a schematic of it. I mean, see how they did the hardware in that thing.
I think the guys at Sinclair ZX World did both of those things.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they reverse engineered it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know Memotech had a
Google search it.
bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Those guys were really busy for the ZX81 and the 1000. I mean, they made all kinds of.
They made stuff for the Atari systems too.
Did they?
RAM upgrades. Yeah.
They even came out with a what was Microsoft's first MSX machine.
Right. Yeah, they built their own. Right.
They built their own. Really nice looking.
Yes.
They built a computer. They did?
Memotech, yes.
Oh, I
It's
didn't
the
know that.
MTX 512. And it's funny that Tim should say that it was really nice looking, because Tim, do you remember being profiled by the Washington Post?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's one thing I came across, and you mentioned the 512 in it, and you mentioned about how it had such a nice, nice looking case.
Now, did you see the photograph that went along with that?
Yes.
That wasn't one of the photographs that the photographer wanted to do. So he actually came to my house, took 2 hours to set up and then do some photographs, and I jokingly half hid below one of the monitors. And he goes, "Oh, wait, click." And then we did some other stuff. And the one that I just randomly did, he said that was the one they used in the newspaper.
That's hilarious.
you got a copy of that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When was this?
I got that issue of Cats. Oh, it looks like Tim's maybe got it handy. Oh boy. This should be amusing. So, Adam, one of the things you wanted to know about was...
I want to know everything, David.
You wanted to ask about people doing, who might have used it for real applications.
Yeah, sure.
But Tim, what did you find?
I went looking for it. I didn't find it. Give me a couple minutes. You guys talk. I'll see if I can find it.
Okay.
So I took a pie chart program in I don't know, one of these Sinclair newsletters. I think Sinclair. I forgot what it was, and I modified it for high-res graphics, where it would draw it would draw a nice-looking circle that's not blocky, and then split it, the pie chart there, and then label it with numbers. And the problem was, on the screen it looked like a circle, but when you printed it on the 2040, it was like an oval.
Tim, did you get your book or newsletter?
Okay, let's see if this will come out. It's
hold it close to
basically
you if you can.
The bottom article down here.
Pin this. Give me just a sec, Tim. There we go.
Oh, you're gonna...
There we go. Yes, Tim's head.
Right. I can scan it, of course, but there it is there. But I was just kind of joking too. So we did a total of 2 or 3 hours for that guy to come and go. It was a long thing. But what it was Washington Post magazine had a small section for different people's collections. I said, "Oh, let me write this in," and lo and behold, they said, "We'll do it."
When was this? I don't understand. This is a long time ago.
February 21st, 1991. Or is it 93? Yeah, it says February 93. It was in the Washington Post magazine. which came like every Sunday in the Washington Post. So
David was saying, oh, go ahead.
I think about that. That's about the time I actually left DC, was February of '93 too. So
I know for me, you know, we're talking about these high-res graphics, and you know, a lot of stuff for the 1000 or the ZX81. You know, I know when I got my 2068, I'm just kind of thinking about that, and you know, I really didn't get into those other things with the 1000 because I kind of threw that stuff in the has-been pile, you know, because once I got to 2068, you know, all my focus was on that machine at that time, and you know, I guess I kind of missed out on some of, and I remember seeing those, you know, the Memotech stuff, and there were some other companies, but I never really invested anything in that once I got to 2068, right? And so I guess I kind of missed out on some of those things, but anyway, it's just kind of an observation, you guys talking about all these things for that machine, and I'm like, you know, I had that was my first machine that I bought, but like I said, once I got to 2068, man, I don't think I did much with the 1000 anymore. I don't know about you guys, but maybe.
Well, it's nice to go back to.
Yeah. It's funny, I have used it on emulation recently, and I've mentioned before that I don't have one, but I mean, it's not like they're real expensive or anything, although I'm not going to try to build one of my own from Zebra Systems because those are expensive. They're like, I think $300 or $400 now or something like that to get the kit still.
Yeah.
Pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have a couple. I have my 1000. I'm sure I've got a couple of them here, but it's just like you know, once you get to 2068, you got color and sound and you know, cartridges and all kinds of things. Right. Yeah. You just like the
16
you know,
colors.
Yeah. Well, the best thing to me on the 1000 when I had it was Monster Maze 3D. You know, 3D Monster Maze. That was you know, that was the pinnacle for me.
But with the ZX81, when you're coding and you're not good at graphics, black and white's easy. Adding color, like, oh, what colors do I want here? What colors do I want there? It's just some ways so much easier to do just plain black and white.
Yeah.
And you still can use black and white, you know, on that system. You don't have to use all the vast array of colors.
with the you get less color attribute clash if you don't use color.
That's why so many of those games from England are all like grayscale, or not grayscale, but black and white. Like the high-res games, there's so many of them. Like,
plus, I'm finding that the Z88DK C compiler doesn't really support the 2068 very well. What it does support the ZX81 just fine. So if I'm going to do a C programming, ZX81 is just great for that. And I really don't like the ZSARS, the 2068 emulator. You know, what does available on Linux.
Yeah.
It's not a great. It's not a great emulator. It's not bad, but it's confusing. And you ask the user, the designer for a manual. Oh, I'll never write a manual. No one ever reads the manual. I'll never write one. Then why I'm asking you questions? That's so obvious. Why can't you figure this out? So yeah.
I went from the 1000 to the 1500. I used the 1500 for almost 2 years.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was a cool little computer. Plus, it had the little rubber keys, and you didn't have the RAM pack wobble and all that stuff to worry about. But basically, it was the same thing. I think it's just a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it was a 1000 in a Spectrum case.
Yeah.
Right.
But I really liked it. In fact, I've got 2 of those now.
The RAM pack wobble was real easy to solve. I used the. Anybody here know who Red Green is from Canada? What's the secret? The handyman secret weapon? Exactly. I found a small piece of wood. Actually, it's pegboard originally. And I duct taped the ZX81 and the memory to the board. Now I can lift up the entire computer by the board, and the RAM pack stayed with the computer.
Yeah.
Great. A little bit of duct tape.
You were living in the future. You were living in the future.
Yeah.
Well, I never bought a 1500 back when it was available. Like I said, I went to the 2068, and that's what solved my RAM pack wall.
Yeah, there it is. I like the 1500 still, but I have to admit, when I got to 2068, it kind of slowly died off. It's still there, but I'm with you. I really like the 2068 a whole much better.
The 2068 is fine until you blow a ULA chip. I had that. Mine lasted 6 months. Blew the chip. That was it. I was done.
But you know, actually, Tim, the Cats group bought like 100 of those things.
Oh yeah, but this was that was.
Oh, that was before you, though. I think.
I bought it.
It looks like a nice clean one, Jay.
And then it lasted 6
Yeah.
months, and then I bought the Quill in '86 and never looked back.
That's nice.
Yeah, you know, and I really wish, because like I said, when I was doing my diagnostics cartridge,
Oh my God.
I don't know, Art must have signed an NDA or whatever with Timex, but I got the, you know, the full-blown internal schematics of the SCLD, you know, all the way the gates were arranged inside of it, right? So I could write my diagnostic program because it tests the SCLD, and there's, you know, I needed to know what was inside of that. And he actually had a big old, you know, a huge big blueprint that he gave to me. Well, he didn't give to me, but he let me borrow it, right? And so when I was done with the diagnostics cartridge, you know, I gave it back to him. But, you know, it's unfortunate that I don't, you know, who knows where one of those would be around, because obviously it was proprietary information, right? And back at that
it's never
time,
surfaced since then either?
I don't think I've never seen anything like that. I just, you know, I may be one of the few that's ever seen that or had that. You know, other than
put you under
NCR
hypnosis
themselves.
and get you over here and okay, tell me what was on the blueprint.
Yeah, you probably, even with hypnosis, I think it's gone, man. That was a long time ago. But yeah, unless somebody knows somebody that, or, you know, maybe they have, you know, somebody at NCR, you know, I'm sure it's around somewhere, obviously, but
Yeah.
it was, you know, kind of like the schematics, you know, but what did they have put on there? Proprietary or confidential information or all that kind of stuff, you know? And so, you know, obviously Timex didn't want that getting out. And I'm sure there's one probably for the 1500 as well, because that has basically the same, it's an NCR chip as well, right? It's in the 1500.
Yeah, it's an NCR. Yeah.
I wanted to share a couple of things if I can step in here. And I went to the library today and a couple of weeks ago, and there was a book.
They still have those?
They do. I go to the library a couple times a week, actually. So this is a book I picked up from the library. I found online. It's called Mathematics Fun with Your Microcomputer. And I was like, somewhere I bumped into that. It has programs and they're written for the ZX Spectrum, the VIC-20, and just general basic. And so I don't know how good these will come out, but I'll show you. So it's all like, can anyone see anything that's on this screen? Like,
little cube.
So yeah, a little cube. And like they have programs that like, let's see if I can't find, and what's funny about it is all the basic listings. Let me find one. Can you see the basic listing is printed in blue, so you can't photocopy it easily?
Oh, that's
I don't know
hilarious.
if you can tell. But yeah, all of the rest of the text is all black, but the basic listings are blue.
Man, who remembers that you know, photocopiers couldn't
right.
blue.
What do they call them? Xenographs or mimeographs or something?
But they show
you
you
use the hand thing.
Some interesting little pictures there. But it's a pretty interesting book, and I couldn't find a PDF of it online, so I want to see what was in it. If it really did have programs for 3 different systems, which it does. I was like, check it out.
Even in the 90s, the copiers wouldn't do blue, because I could do markup on my newsletters in blue, but they never copied. So you could do your markup and notes, but they never actually got printed.
Right. And this is kind of for future prosperity, because I wanted to show, like last week we had, or last meeting, not last week, we had 2 people from former Czechoslovakia. And I have like once a month, I have voice therapy because I lose my voice and I have to do practice. And so they recommended getting children's books. And I've been getting these Caldecott winners, and one from, I think it's like 2008, won an award, and it's called The Wall. And it's called Growing Up Behind the Iron Curtain. And it talks about, it's a children's book for all about Czechoslovakia and how the Velvet Revolution happened there, which came up last week. And I read this like 2 days later, and I was like, well, that's weird. And there's like entries in here about the person who was growing up and how he described life behind the Iron Curtain and how difficult it was to get computers, just like they said, all in a children's book, which I was like, well, that's a weird coincidence. Yeah.
Did anybody else buy the book from last time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
That's cool. You got it. Yep. Have you started reading it yet?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I sit down and start reading it and start to drift off.
It's good though. It's a good one. Especially read the bibliography at the back because it's got so much stuff in there. So much.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's excellent so far.
And David had brought up that we wanted, or at least I thought it might be a good idea for us, some of us, to talk about how we used our computers back in the 80s and things like that.
Well, you were also especially curious about, like real applications, like people use it for business and for other stuff. Unfortunately, David Sully was on earlier, but he's not on now. He had told me, and maybe we'll get him on to stick around longer on a future one. But he had told me that he had written this program for this woman who was in the Ottawa user group that he was in, and she owned a pub, I think, and he wrote this program in Pascal. She used the program to do her payroll. I don't know if she used it to do the bookkeeping, the entirety of the bookkeeping, but she certainly used it to do payroll. And he was under the impression that she was using this until alarmingly recently. I want to get him to tell the story because he tells it much better than I do. He has much more detail, and I'll make sure that he sticks around longer for one of the meetings. But yeah, Jay, you did a newsletter that I think you said you did that with WordStar on a CPM machine.
Right, WordStar 4.
Okay. But there were folks who did business with their ZX81s or their 2068s.
I did a lot of stuff with Profile back in the day, databases and things like that, and just lists and phone books and that kind of stuff. But and then of course we ran the ISTech BBS for about 2.5 years. Off of a dedicated 2068. So
yeah, I saw a thing that said that it was appealing for folks to help you pay for that because it was running to be hundreds of dollars a year or something.
I was just doing it on my own. I had a dedicated phone line back in the day, so it was
Well, I don't know if Adam was kind of maybe referring to maybe a commercial kind of application for the machines.
One of the things that I brought up was I mentioned View 3D and how maybe some people used it, and then there was was it Francois? Is that his name?
Yeah.
On the group who posted, he had made the Imperial Walker. And David, can you bring up some pictures of that? He posted the stands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go find
what have we got there, Jay? I can't tell what that is.
Let's see. PC Draw, it says.
It's PC Draw. It draws circuit boards on your 2068.
Oh,
really?
Well, that's cool.
Oh man.
How about that? I'd never even heard of that.
Well,
that's interesting.
Were you able to print them out and then put them onto a PCB in some way? Like,
I wouldn't know. That was years ago. I had it. I just bought this for my ZX81, and my tape recorder went bad. I'm an amateur radio operator.
Okay.
And I wanted to know if I could hook this up to my amateur radio and have it display the Morse code. I'm not sure if that's what does it, but my tape recorder went south. I need to buy a new tape recorder.
So the reflection on that was, I only could see it said the word Morse. What did it say under that? Morse reader. Okay. Morse reader.
Right.
So it decodes the Morse code into the letters that it's.
Right. It says it's ZX81 in that little block between the two words there.
Oh, okay.
Well, time to go to Radio Shack and get a new tape player.
It looks like it's British because they're British call sign, and I bought it from Britain.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because
I also have one of my favorite games on the 2068 is this.
Oh, voice chips.
Wow.
Who made that?
SoftSync. Yeah.
SoftSync. Okay. I was gonna say it's a nice box.
Yeah.
It looks like the box for Gulpman too. I think they made that as well.
Yeah, I'm sure they use the same kind of box design. It just
So Adam, I'm going to show this. We go screen share. That's what I want. So these are the scans that that Francois sent us.
Well, you've been busy. You already posted it to your site.
Well, this is, if you look at the URL, this is my local version, and actually I've run an export, and I need to upload it overnight.
Cool.
To the production. But yeah, there's that fantastic silver paper from the ZX printer, which comes out gray, but it really is silver.
2040.
What's that?
If that's silver, it's probably the ZX printer. Where we have the 2040.
It is the ZX printer, because it actually electrically burned the silver off. Right, so that's how that worked.
That's why the FCC didn't allow it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it was like a to use the ham.
You actually saw the sparks go through.
Yep,
exactly, you saw
it
the
was
sparks
a massive transmitter of RFI.
It smelled kind of. I remember it smelled a little interesting too, but
I don't think I ever used mine.
But that's pretty, a pretty decent accomplishment for that View 3D.
Well, yeah, he posted more about it today, and he said he was able to. He thinks he made it in like 3 hours or something like that.
Oh,
which is pretty impressive.
Well, so Adam, how is it that you plug stuff in there? I mean, what is it that you put in?
I don't. Oh, to make something?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I wouldn't have been able to answer this morning, but I used it today for the first time, View 3D, that is. And I loaded it up on my 2068 on real hardware, and it's way faster than I expected, for one thing. Like, I thought it was going to be slow as a dog, but I also didn't realize until I read the documentation, which I printed out from your website too, so thank you for that. And it's pretty good, and it's not like, it could be broken down more with more examples, but it shows you how to make a loaf of bread, which is kind of cheesy, but it's enough it got me to realize how to make a cube. And the only thing about it that I either it doesn't allow you to do it, or I couldn't figure out how to do it yet, was how to modify something you've already created. Because you basically can make all these modifications to it until you close the object. Then it seems to be closed for good. But maybe not. Has anyone else used View 3D much or at all?
The only thing I remember about View 3D is it's a Scion software, right? And Scion's a British company, so obviously they made it for the Spectrum originally.
Right. It came out in '82.
Right, and Scion was they came out with their own PDAs and things later, right? But they were a big company, so I would think that it was probably there was something else that the Scion came out with. It was along the lines of View 3D. There's another, I can't remember now.
They did ViewCalc and
ViewCalc, right? Another. Yeah, and he's got his PDA there that Scion made, but they made kind of more what kind of software would you call this? It's more technical. It's more engineering, like ViewCalc, right? That was I think more of a database.
It was
spreadsheet, right? They're like a spreadsheet, like an Excel, right? So right, exactly. So those, but they put a lot of effort and time, and it wasn't a cheesy program, from what I remember. So I imagine it. Yeah, I don't know about when you close your design, if it's closed for good. Well, it may be.
that's like I'm describing the objects, but there's also a scene. So the whole screen is a scene, and so you design one object at a time. And the way it works is you have slices, they call it. And so you start off with slice 0, and that's kind of like, doesn't have to be your main slice, but it's what I used today since I was learning. And basically each slice is 1 pixel. So I made a square that was, what was it, 20 by, let's see, I actually made a drawing of what I did. You probably can't see that, but I drew it out. What was I going to do for the pixels? Because it was easier to do that way. And then I transferred it, and it works really way easier than I thought, because it's describing how you have to move your cursor around the screen by pressing the cursor keys. And I was like, man, it's going to be so slow. But no, it's actually, they put a key that you have to press to slow down the movement. And it is required, because otherwise it moves too fast. But basically, so I draw a square on the first slice, and then that square gets repeated all the way through the slices until you stop it. And so I drew another square on slice 50, so it was 50 pixels wide. And then I closed the object and it was done. I had a cube, but it took me a little bit to figure that out. But I could make one again really quickly. And then I was able to rotate it. Everything you can imagine it doing with a 3D object, you can rotate it, shade it. You can get rid of the invisible lines. So when you're looking at the wireframe, you don't see both sides, you don't see through it. And it's pretty fast. I mean, it's an 8-bit computer system, you know, and it's running in 48K, but it's
well, I know I had it, and I know the only thing I really think I remember doing with it was it comes with that demo of the glass.
Right.
I remember, yeah, I remember doing things with that, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And
right.
I never used it again.
Can you put a skin on the final wireframe to make it look like a?
Well, you can't animate with it. I mean, well, technically, I guess you could, because you can take a picture of your screen, and then you could probably load those up separately, but not in View 3D, and then take your separate screens maybe somehow and like animate a few of them. Maybe, I don't know, David. You know how you can save your screen? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I don't know if View 3D will let you save screen files.
Oh, it does. It does.
Oh, it does. Oh, then okay, you'd be able to string them together.
But I don't know how much memory that requires. How much is a screen?
6K per screen.
So you could have like, you know, a few at least, and get a choppy animation that way at minimum. I guess.
Yeah, I know. I know it can't animate it maybe, but I know I could move the glass around.
Yep.
You know, in the program, which is kind of animating it, right? I mean, it's not something I hit play and it, you know, it moves.
If you consider this animation, you know.
Yeah. To me, it was animating when I was using it back in the 80s. I was like, wow, I can drag I can move this glass around.
Yeah.
Were you able to put a texture on it?
No.
Well, no, you can't. It does do shading, but no, it doesn't do textures. In fact, when I did some small experiments with the Amiga back in the 90s, the program I used couldn't even do textures. So it could do shading, but
yeah, I've got the Amigas. I got the 4000. I got the A1200.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Amiga's
everyone has a 1200 and an Amiga 1200, don't they? And an Amiga 4000.
That's a Lightwave for the Amiga. That was a good 3D model package.
And I've got 68060 accelerators in both.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. My fastest Amiga is a 68030, and I remember I used to work at a tech company here in town, and someone had brought in the accelerator 68040 for the 4000, which if it was a late enough revision, I'm getting off topic here, aren't I? But it should have fit in my 3000, and it did, but it wasn't compatible because it was an old revision of the board, and I was like, damn it. Oh. You know. Yeah.
Hey, Jeff Burrell.
Yes.
Tell us what you have done or not done.
I've been beating on the software and going back through the ROM listings so that I know what's going on, and I'm able to save files now. And right now I'm finishing the software to load files in. So it'll probably be another 3 or 4 days. I was hoping to have it done by this meeting, but unfortunately my previous job came back like The Walking Dead. And so I haven't, I had to spend a couple of days going back 2 years to try and figure out how to do some things.
Oh, dear Lord.
So just to back up for people who don't know what he's talking about, he's designing an SD card interface for the 60 or 2068.
That's right. So Jeff, yeah, you talked about that, about eliminating, was it the CPLD that was going to do video portion, or was it an FPGA?
Eliminate the FPGA that does the video, and then just use a CPLD for glue logic between the 2068 and the Raspberry Pi Pico.
That's right. Okay. Very cool.
Did you talk to Evie and work anything out there with her design?
I did have an email exchange with her, and I haven't. We went back and forth a couple of times, and I described what I wanted to do, and I haven't heard anything back from her on that. Yeah. My guess is she's probably busy on her own stuff, based on what we found out.
Busy building my chip tester that I ordered.
Well, I did get her cartridge.
Say she's way behind.
Yeah, well, it's just all the chips that you can't get them.
Yeah.
And I know I did get my bitback cartridge, and I did open it up, and really there's only the one chip on there, that ST microcontroller. That's really it.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, I ordered a bit back as well, so I'm not sure when that'll come in.
Very cool.
Yeah, I haven't tried it out yet, but I need to do that.
She didn't tell me this personally, but she has mentioned before that it took her 6 months to get the chips to just do the one she's caught up with, and now she's out of chips already. So I don't know if it's going to take another 6 months or not. I hope not.
If she's lucky.
Yeah, I went to Mouser to order some stuff the other day, and stuff that should not be out of stock is out of stock.
Yeah, and the lead times on them are like 2024. You're like, what? Oh my God. Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's probably not going to be true, but I'm sure in some cases it'll even be worse.
Yeah, it's really
We're going to have to start using the 2068 as our main computers again, just so we can get.
I think you're right.
Until you blow your SCLD like Tim did.
Yeah. Well, my Spectrum Next has been delayed an extra year, so.
I heard about that.
Round.
I heard about that.
Yeah, they had to completely change to a different FPGA and to redesign the board because they couldn't get the other ones. And this one was quick; it only had a year turnaround. So,
well, I guess I consider myself lucky that I got in on the original one.
Oh, Carl, you're an original one too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got an original as well, and I went in for the second, and I figure at 68 I might get my second one before I pack it in. So
yeah, I was hardware guys. I was glad that I was able to try out Carl's. He brought it over here one day, and we were able to mess around.
Yeah,
with
we
that.
should have taken video of that or something. But
we can do it.
You guys can get the Albuquerque user group together.
Hey, Carl does a newsletter. I'm all for it. He's got the printer for it. He even has the ZX printer, so he can spark his way through that paper and smell at my house or his house or something.
Well, and you can you can bring up Zoom and Kevin can join you, so you can have
Ryan. You mean?
No, Kevin, who's in Austin, but was is from Albuquerque.
Okay, yeah. But Ryan can swing on by.
Ryan,
he said where he lives.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I just got that was one of the things I found was found the old 2040 in the garage. Got a couple of rolls left.
Nice. Well, and apparently,
yeah, my background picture. Yeah, background picture. That's the one I painted silver.
Oh yeah, that's right.
A 2040 that I painted silver.
That's right. Hey, I see that there's a new person that Willie talked into joining us, Ralph McCrum.
Yeah, you'll see his name in those ISTUG newsletters.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, he was editor there for several issues.
That's really cool. Hey, Ralph, can you unmute and let's see if I can ask him to unmute. Let's see if he's there or not. He's with us virtually.
If he's asleep, I can go kick him because he's just right down the hall from me.
Oh, Ralph's awake.
I'm awake. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So, Ralph, which is your favorite Timex computer?
Oh, wow. I'd have to say the 2068. It's the one I've done the most with. I started out with a ZX-1000, with a Timex 1000, and then I went to 2068. And I wanted a Spectrum for years and never got one. And now that I've got a Spectrum, I haven't done nothing with it yet. I'm just trying to get back into remembering what it was all about. It's been so many years since I did very much in it that a lot of it is just kind of foggy. So it's going to take me a while to get back into it. The 2068 is what I've done the most with. It was always my favorite. And,
2068 is the better machine than the Spectrum. So just doesn't have any software for it. But hey, hardware wise, it's the better machine.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the only way to use it is to disable all the hardware. And run
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you with the 2068 with the FDD 3000, it was another machine. You know,
Do you still have that?
Yeah, I run CPM on it, and I had the AMDIS AMDEC AMDIS 3, so I'd have 4 disk drives running on it, and there was so much software for CPM.
Yeah.
I'd like to get one of those FDD 3000s one of these days, or maybe somebody can publish a schematic and we can make boards for it and recreate it.
I have the schematic for the FDD 3000. It was published in one of the newsletters. It was like an additional part to one of the newsletters. Somebody from Timex sent it to someone here, and then they sent it to me.
Huh.
Yeah.
What kind of floppy drives does that use? Can you use like an IBM standard or like custom?
It was a 3-inch flippy.
Like a 3-inch.
Amstrad, but
okay.
It also ran, if you wanted to, you could hook up a 3.5-inch or a 5 1/4.
Yeah, Carl, it's a standard. I don't remember what those things were called. The floppy disk, the 34-pin, floppy disk edge connector.
It's just well, that's a hard drive connector, but it's a 34-pin. That was just a floppy interface, right? It was a 34-pin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the edge connector with the 5 1/4s, used to have the edge
Same
connector.
Thing, right?
And
could it also support the A and B drives? Then is that how that worked?
The which one?
Like, could you have 2 drives hooked up to like one?
I had A, B, C, and D.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was that because they're each 360? Is that how much they were? They held each 360 each drive?
I think it held 160.
160.
At least the FDD3 held 160 per side. Was it, Jay? Or
I still can't find it. I found one of my AMDIS 3s, but it just wasn't enough for me. So I went to Stewart's Zebra Systems there in Queens, New York, and I took an AMDIS 3 with me, and I said, are you able to hook this up to the FDD 3000? They were able to do it, and I've used it as 4 discs online, which is its max. Yeah. And I would use the modem in the back with I had an Osborne 1. I'd read all the Osborne CPM discs. I'd uploaded to my Ron Havlin got IMP working on it, so
okay.
I was able to transfer all the CPM on my Osborne over to the 2068 with the FDD 3000 system. That was a whole heck of a lot more business software.
Yeah.
Were you able to use 80 columns somehow then? Or that's right, because the 3000
I have on one of my flippy disks there, the CF2 flippy disks. There came from Portugal an 80 column software program.
A little driver, yeah.
So you had software 80 columns?
Yes, okay. It was done completely in the software. But that wasn't for, I don't think that was for CPM. CPM by its nature was 64 columns across. And the device that Nazir Pashtun, he was sleeping, he couldn't make the meeting, I guess. Nazir had done the T-Dock twister board. It was a feed through for it fed through the 2068 bus, but also it went pointed up with the Spectrum bus, and you put the adapter there, and then you plug in the FDD 3000 cable into the adapter that sat on the T connector there out of the back of your 2068, and that's how I was running it. And one of the cables was a serial interface to the printer, and the other they had like A and B channels in the back of the FDD3000. The other one, I wired for a modem. So, and the modem would run up to 19.2.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I have a general question about the FDD3000. That was like the actual computer, and then the 2068 kind of was like a dumb terminal to it.
Yeah. I have two of them, and the problem was I was running CASboard, the BBS system at the time, and lightning struck, and it looked like St. Elmo's fire coming out of the outlet, and it just fried the FDD3000. So I got myself another one, but I have one that needs repair. If anybody wants, I'd like to know somebody that can fix it.
I'm sure if it gets struck by lightning, it needs more than repair. It needs, like you did, it needs replacement.
Well, it really depends how far, usually it'll just blow out the power supply, but it doesn't really get much further than that.
Well, but, it had PAL chips that I think they blew the, so you couldn't debug them. They blew the, whatever it was, protection stuff.
You need a faith healer now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that not too much was blown. I looked in the inside. It didn't look like it was fried or anything physically, but I'm sure it did affect the solid state devices at least.
Yeah, because I've seen things get blown by, like I said, usually the power supply, it takes stuff out. Now, if it, sent a high voltage to all the chips, well, then that could be a whole nother, if it sent.
Yeah, after that, I got myself a power strip with surge protection. A day late and $1 short.
Yeah, but I'm sure at some point in time I could probably take a look at it. But like I said, I've seen them, but that's a Portugal thing, right? Timex Portugal developed that, and
I have the schematic for that somewhere. So
and I've seen them, but that's I've never seen one in person or used one. So it sounds really, really interesting that it's just another piece of Timex history where they were going with that. So
yeah.
It's if you can think of sending it, at some point, that would be, I'll definitely take a look at it when I get a chance. But yeah, work's just been hectic too for me. I don't know what it is, man. Maybe it's the summertime.
Also, I'd like to get my Larkin system for the 1000 hooked up. I'd like to get a floppy disk on that.
Yeah, I'd never mess with the Larkins either. So
that's
why I was asking. That's why I was asking on the 3000, because I think I remember seeing the drives on it, and they looked to me. Well, you can never tell what's really behind the face there, but it looks like a 3.5-inch drive.
No, it's a 3-inch. It's a
3-inch. The Amstrad drives, then what they used in the Spectrum Plus 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So couldn't you use 5 1/4s on the Larkin in all of your system?
Yes.
I'm talking the Larkin system for the 1000, not for the 2068. I also bought from him an interface for the 1000 floppy disk drive.
But so it came with drives. So I thought some of the interfaces came.
No, it didn't. It just came with the interface.
You can hook a 5 1/4 up to that 1000.
I also had when I was running the CASboard, I had a date and a time thing from Byteback. They had a calendar thing you plug into the back there.
Moderately useful.
I'm sure the battery's dead in that, right? So it doesn't keep time
anymore. I've taken the battery out since I'm not using it. But I need to find the peaks and the pokes to set it, the program. Half my stuff is in storage. So I retrieved one of my 2 storage lockers, and I hope to find the rest of the stuff. I still have to go through a lot of the boxes as well. I found this stuff. It has the instructions for the graphics from SoftSync for the 1000, and this is the programmer's toolkit, which I use to renumber programs that I'm typing in. Start at 10 and move up by 10. I found this also for the 1000. So I'm finding some stuff, but not everything I want.
That's always what happens, man, with storage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
everything's you'd think it'd be all consolidated, but no, crap is everywhere.
I was run out of the house. I was living with Mom after my divorce, and my brother had his kids pack up my stuff helter skelter, no labeling. You know, I said, "You're getting out," and that's what happened.
Yeah.
So
David, we're down to about 10 minutes.
Years, yeah.
Just calling that out here.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who needs to? I know we kind of already spoke. We are going to try to have the meeting, and I'll host it because you'll be out of town or at an event.
Yes.
At least.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe we can figure that out. If I can't do it, I should be able to.
I think so. I think so. You and I will do a test run. This week sometime and see if we can figure it out.
So I guess we should just say that it's going to be 2:00. On what day is that going to be? Is the 21st? No.
The calendar. So
you tell me. I'm just showing up for 10 minutes before the start time, and I'll start it.
Let me look at the calendar on the website.
Okay.
Because that
I think it's the 22nd. That's 2 weeks from today. Oh no! It's the 21st.
21st.
Okay.
Yes. 2 p.m. on the 21st.
Wow.
Right, because I'm going out of town the next day for most of that week because my 50th birthday is coming up. Anyone get me anything? Anyone?
Are you really?
50, huh? Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
50. Yeah.
I remember 50.
Yeah, it's a while back.
You can join AARP at the age 50. So I think you could save 15% off of Denny's,
only if you eat before 4:30.
Who stays up that late? Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken yet who's wanted to get a word in with us?
I got a question too. Go ahead, Greg.
Does anyone know if someone makes an extender card for the port? I want to use my ZX-Band for my TS1000, but because of the shape, it won't fit. So I need some kind of a card or a ribbon cable. I was just wondering if anyone knows if there's anything available that does that.
I believe there is such a critter out there, but that was way back in the 80s.
I don't know if anybody. The only thing I can think of people making these days, right, are the twister boards, and so you're going to have extra stuff on there. But I mean, that kind of does what you want, but it's for a different machine, right? It's for the 2068, not for the 1000.
He just wants a straight through extender.
So you just need somebody have to come up with a board.
That's for how many pins is that? That's for the 1000?
46.
ZX?
Yeah. Yeah.
23 aside.
Are you just wanting to get off of the back of the computer?
Yeah. He needs about an inch and a half of clearance. Is that about right, Greg?
Yeah, it blocks your ports and a few things.
Can you use the printer?
I might have something like that, guys. I got a bunch of boards and stuff like that. Yeah, I might have one I could use.
Yeah, he needs it to stick back like probably 2 inches so you can get to the ports.
I think that's what it's got. I think it's actually got one connector on it or something. I don't even remember what it was for, but
because the ZX-Band, I guess if you have a case, right? Yeah. Do you have a case for it?
It's just like a memo pack case.
Right, exactly. So it kind of matches up with the 1000, right?
Willie, that sort of left turn thing that you made.
Yeah.
If you took that and just shrunk it down to just the 1000 signals and made it about 2.5 inches straight, that would solve Greg's problem.
Yeah, the problem is the power over here is in the way, as well as the recorders over there.
Jacks.
And then this thing for the video.
That's a 2040 plug-in, right?
Can you use the 2040 printer?
Yeah, you should be able to use the 2040.
Yeah, I never thought about using extra hardware to pass through.
The bonus thing for this, I was going to say earlier, was this is what solved my RAM pack wobble problem. You
went the expensive route.
Stabilized that pretty good.
That's a good point. Yeah, that is a Timex approved. And I know there's somebody on eBay, because I was getting some 2040 printers a while back. It's been like a year or two now, but I still have it on my eBay thing. He's selling those 2040 connectors by themselves. I think he's got like 3 of them.
Yes.
But he's selling them separately. But I mean, maybe you can just get one of those and and
maybe
not
what
use
I've
the cable.
got actually. I just remember having some small extenders. I'd have to go through my boxes and see what I got. But do you have a 2040 printer, Greg?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'll see if I've got one of those connectors, or I'm almost sure I do.
Willie, if you don't, then let's take your
yeah, we could redesign the other board.
We'll make you one.
That hard. Yeah, that would be hard.
Yeah, it'd be real easy if somebody's good with KiCad or one of those PCB programs.
Dude, we use I think it's called, is it EasyCAD, Willie?
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, it runs in the web browser. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, anybody that's designed a board lately, that would be like piece of cake,
Exactly. Yeah.
So can I end with a story?
It's called Easy EDA.
Yeah,
that's it.
I know.
Yes. Yeah.
2-minute warning.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's
good job. Good job. Yeah, let's let Tim end with a story. Does that work? Is there any last minute business before that? Anything? Going once? Going twice? Tim.
All right. Since you guys mentioned professional user of the 2068, I believe this is a story I picked up in Cats 1989. I'm telling you, as I heard it, I don't know how true it is, but there was a gentleman in Florida that had a 2068 hooked up to a weather station. So I had some AD converted to a weather station, a little wheelie thing outside, and temperature and so on. A hurricane came through his area. It didn't affect him, I think, but it did affect the local National Weather Service station. So they didn't have data for the hurricane in that local area. So he told me he did. So they actually went to him to get data off the 2068 so they could then fill their gap in their weather history.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Yes.
That's the story as I heard it. I don't know how true, but
yeah, no, I've read that story, and I can't remember if I read it in the Yahoo group or in a newsletter, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
It would have been a better story if he controlled the hurricane with his 2068, okay? Using relays, okay? That would have been the way to go.
I'll mend it later.
Hurricanes don't get far enough inland.
I know too that somebody, I think you, David, or somebody had a 1500, I think Carrier, right, had designed into some kind of apparatus that they were using to control.
It was Parker. Parker was like a subcontractor for Carrier, and designed stuff for Carrier, and they designed, I don't know, a doodad that hooked up to an HVAC system, right, and it's got the little barrier strip of screw terminals, and 1500 plugs into it, and I assume that there's a ROM, inside that device that replaces the 1500 ROM to do who knows what. I've found the company, I've tracked down the guy who's at the head, and I've emailed him and have gotten nothing.
And I know, of course, I've already talked about mine where Art Colgate used the 2068 and it was controlling his 3-axis milling machine.
That's crazy.
So that was a commercial application for that as well.
That is really crazy.
And Ray Kingsley, the guy that did Hot Z, he's the one that wrote all the software that controlled that machine. Because he was up in Santa Fe. He lived in Santa Fe at that time, and he wrote all the he wrote the operating software that you use to interface with the milling machine.
Wow.
He did all that for Art. So
wow. Is that real enough for you, Adam?
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah. We're gonna have the worldwide meeting here. I'm telling you, we're gonna have it here in Albuquerque.
Yeah, it was nice to watch the machine, moving the plate, and I think he was using it for somebody wanted it for cutting styrofoam, right? The hot wire styrofoam cutting.
Oh,
So they used his machine to, you know, cut the styrofoam blocks apart into whatever they were using. But yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
and I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to Ray. I haven't really thought about to look him up, but you know, he may be passed on by now. But
yeah, I think he did. I think Ray did pass on, unfortunately. But
yeah,
unfortunately, that's
but
what's happening.
He was you know, he burned all my, you know, diagnostic cartridge EPROMs. You know, I just sent him the code and he burned them for me, but I didn't have a burner at the time.
Nice. Well, gentlemen, it's been another fun evening.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Tim.
everyone.
Tim Ward, for joining us.
Yeah, nice chatting with you.
Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. Thank you, Ralph, for joining us.
And Willie for the video.
Yes, Willie, that was awesome. Loved it. All right, and Adam and I will work on making the Sunday 2 weeks from today happen.